Hey guys, I'm gonna do something a little bit special today. I'm here with Ralph of the Sharper Edge Shear Sharpening. He's here in Texas. I was just sharing with Ralph. I met him when I was teaching at the Aveda Institute here in Austin, and he's super impressed me with his depth of knowledge and just about the mechanics of shear sharpening and the amount of care that he puts into it. Had some shears sharpened by him, and they perform better than any shears that I've ever had sharpened by anybody else. Do you take mail order? Like, can people mail you their shears if they're
Yes, I do.
interested?
I do get mail-in items
Okay.
frequently through the week. So
Okay.
that's why usually I'm on the road 3 days a week, and on 2 days of the week I'm actually working in my workshop
Stay
and
doing the mail-in stuff,
just doing the
basically.
mail-in stuff, doing paperwork and social media
Yeah.
videos, and putting those together too.
I think when I first started doing hair, I had a previous decade experience as a professional chef, and I sharpened everyone's knives. I'd been sharpening knives my whole life. I would like grind down the bolster when the blade got too close to the end and like put new edges on people's knives. And I was like, oh, I'll be fine, I'll sharpen my own shears. And it took me about a day's worth of research to figure out there's no effing way I'm ever gonna be able to sharpen shears.
Yeah, there definitely is an art to it.
So what I was hoping to do today was to get some explanation of what it takes to sharpen shears, the difference between a good sharpening and a bad sharpening. Eventually we can get into like different types of steel.
Okay.
But I just really want your expertise in educating our viewers in the difference between a good sharpening and a bad sharpening.
Excellent. So the main difference is if you present your shear and the edge looks like one way when you present it to, which is actually a convex edge instead of a bevel edge. And when you think of bevel edge,
Mm-hmm.
think of the Fisker's hand scissors. It
Yeah.
just has a sharp edge to it.
Yeah.
Where a convex edge for hair shears,
Yeah.
and that style came from
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah.
They call it a clamshell or a convex edge,
Yeah.
where you almost see, you don't see the edge. It kind of drops off into infinity there. It just drops down to the
Yeah.
point. And the good sharpening versus the bad sharpening, well, you're going to be able to tell the difference almost right away and see the difference right away. There's a lot of people out there. The one thing about the industry, Holland, is cosmetologists, you have a license.
Yeah.
Shear sharpeners, there's no license.
No regulatory body.
There's no regulatory body. There are sharpening guilds, and I'm a part of a couple of sharpening guilds that are located outside of Texas. And I believe in making the product even better than I was given it. So
Yeah.
shear, I want that shear to perform to its optimum level
Yeah.
for my client. If they've had a bad experience, and most have had bad experiences where
I know I have.
they're giving their shears to a sharpener thinking that it was going to be sharpened correctly,
Yeah.
comes back and it's a botched job. I go out of my way to try to correct those issues
Yeah.
because I hate to see someone get taken advantage of, and I also hate to see someone get taken advantage of when it comes to when they're purchasing shears too.
This is a pair that I literally just had sharpened. Got them back. I've done 3 haircuts on mannequins with them, and they're pushing hair.
Okay.
And I've checked my tension,
Yeah.
and I just feel like they're not where they should be.
Yeah. You mentioned you mentioned something great there that a lot of hairstylists are not familiar with. You said
Yeah.
tension.
Yeah.
So I teach an acronym called TOP. So
Oh, excellent.
tension,
Yeah.
oil, and proper storage. Those are all key items there. So the tension has to be set correctly, like you said.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that when I go in, I'll test them for the stylist. I'll show them.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they've heard, well, I hear you have to hold it up and you drop it down, and you don't want that
Yeah.
slamming shut, which is correct.
Yeah.
What you want is the shear to drop about halfway down,
Mhm.
and then when you open and close it, you should feel a little resistance as you're opening and closing, especially as we get to the fulcrum part,
Yeah,
or the center
just
part
that
of the
tiny
shear.
bit.
Yeah, just a tiny bit.
The way I've always thought about it is if I hold them like this and they stay closed, that's good. But if I give them kind of a little shake and they drop open, I feel like that's just right for my tension.
Yeah,
Does that sound about?
that sounds about right. That probably
right?
will accomplish the same thing if,
Yeah.
if we did the same thing on there.
And these are dry. They haven't been oiled.
Uh-huh.
I've been caught.
There's no special oil that you really need to go out and buy.
Yeah.
Since I do medical sharpening too, mineral
Yeah.
oil I found is a great all-around oil,
Yep.
the food grade type of mineral oil.
Okay.
And so I just, the way you oil your shears, just put a drop here, on both sides of the blade right there, open and close,
Mm-hmm.
and then just make sure before you start cutting hair, you want to wipe off the oil that has skirted up to the top of the
Right.
tip.
So these shears here, I took a picture of them earlier, so
Yeah.
hopefully I got a good image of like the ride line. But at
Yes.
first glance, to you, tell me if these how these look.
Okay, so I could tell that the tip got washed out. They used a stone of some sort, but they got a little bit too aggressive
Yeah.
on the tips here. And
Okay.
as a stylist, you know that your
Yeah.
tips are very important.
That's all I use. Pretty much
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
part of my shear is dull, and probably that part is probably still sharp.
Yeah. The attempt to get that ride line done, it was a nice attempt.
I felt like it looked pretty close, and then I looked at the tips on both sides. They're
Yeah.
like identical.
Yeah. A lot of times I see where the ride line is not even addressed.
Yeah.
And that's another sign of a bad sharpening. Is
Yeah.
where you look at your shear, and on the back side of there, you could see that it's actually no apparent. And what we're talking about is you should see an apparent little mirror.
Yeah.
On the
That
top
shiny
of the steel.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the back side of the shear, or the ride line as we
Yeah.
know it. And so the shear has to be taken apart, and it appears like this got washed out a little bit. I'm not able to repair the washout of that steel,
Yeah.
but I'm able to hone this up. What I could tell right here as well is that it's not completely convex. It was right up there at the edge,
Yeah.
and they took a little bit too much out here and near
Yeah.
the edge there. So
Oh, is it? It looks like I can see it. There's like a little dip down right
a
there.
little dip down there, yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that,
Mhm.
but I see it now.
Yeah, we'll get these all corrected for you.
Nice. But I think these have been sharpened maybe 6 or 7 times.
Okay.
They're about, I think 6. Maybe they're about 6, 7 years old.
Okay.
Actually, these ones I've been able to get them sharpened about once a year, and that tends to be what they need.
Yeah.
They're Hikaris,
Okay.
and so talk to me about maybe the steel quality between these two shears too.
Okay. So, Hikari actually is one of the higher end shears on the
Mhm.
market, and not to be confused with Hattori Hanzo,
Right?
which has a Japanese sounding name but does not come from Japan. They're known for their workmanship, and right here on the ride line of the shear, they actually have a little piece of Teflon
Yeah.
engraved into the steel,
Yeah.
and that's meant mainly to have the smoothness of the shear open and close. So Japanese steel, there's different grades of Japanese steel.
Mm-hmm.
The most common, 75% maybe on the market,
Yeah.
is 440C steel.
Yep.
And so that's a nice mid-grade steel,
Mm-hmm.
and you could expect to pay anywhere from 200 to 350
Mhm.
on that type of shear. The sad part is there's our companies out there, and we spoke about the one that has the H on there.
Yeah.
That those shears shouldn't be worth more than 250, 300 bucks, but you see people
pay a lot of
taking
money for
advantage
those.
of
Yeah.
to where it's not the same as an Hikari or a Mizutani
Mhm.
that are on the market when it comes to the quality of the steel as well as the workmanship behind it. There's different elements or different ingredients, if you would, that go into the steel
Yeah.
that some manufacturers have found the right mix, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Hikari is one of them. Mizutani is another that has
Nice.
it. And I carry the ones I carry are from above, and I also carry Shizato and Mirage.
Okay.
There's different ones on my website.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the quality of the steel. All I carry is Japanese steel, but the price varies on the
Yeah.
ingredients that go into it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to bore you with all the different type of ingredients, but
That's fine.
ATS 314 is going to be a higher end, and that's probably what. And I haven't done the research on this particular model for the new Cosmos for Hikari, but they probably have like an
Mhm.
ATS 314 grade of steel in here.
Yeah.
And then the workmanship on it. Yeah,
That's cool.
So most of the stuff that's on the market, 440C. There are a lot of manufacturers that still bring in from China.
Yeah.
70% maybe. I would
Yeah.
venture to guess is about 70% from China.
Mhm.
Then you have Korea that actually has good workmanship there.
Yeah.
And then Japan, of course, is going to be the higher end that
Yeah.
is going to provide the best quality when it comes to the workmanship as well as the best steel.
Yeah.
So when you get your shear back, check the tension of it.
Yeah.
Make sure you oil it, proper storage.
Excellent.
And if you do feel like it wasn't sharpened properly,
Yeah.
call them back. I see it as an opportunity for them to gain your business, unless they really just messed it up completely.
Yeah.
I encourage my clients, take a before and after picture, and
Yeah.
that's your proof right there that, well, something's different than on these shears.
I would love to see your equipment and then have you kind of walk me through it and talk to me about the difference between what you're using and what somebody who might come in and set up inside the salon
Yeah,
may be using.
yeah, let's do that. Has different combs or different instruments that they prefer. Just depends on how bad of the ride line shapes it is in. There's different grades of water stones. So from a 500 mesh, you go up to 4,000 on that, taking it to a 10,000. I also have my honing machine. Now, I have two honing machines here set up. Sometimes, most of the time, I'm actually addressing the ride line as this shear is taken apart. It's going to sit against there, and I use jigs to hold the angle in place. So basically, this is phase one. I take it through phase two, to where I use different buffing wheels over here, and then I take it back to my stones, and then I'm actually going back over here to my honing machines. And that's the silicone carbide. That's the stuff I do not want to breathe.
These remind me of lapidary wheels that somebody might use for polishing stones.
Well, in fact, I'm letting out one of my secrets here. So a lot of my stuff that I get is from jeweler supplies.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. When I set a shear,
Yeah.
I use a jeweler's hammer. It's just it's softer on the edge
It's
there.
like a nylon head.
Yeah, nylon head there.
Yeah.
So it's not going to damage the shear. Talking about the set of the shear, is that if you look at your shear, and I don't know if you can see on there, but
Yep.
you should see daylight in the shear. When I'm
Right
talking
in the
about
middle.
between the two blades, yeah, there's going to be a
Okay.
little set. So sometimes I got to go in, especially if the shear's been dropped, and I'll reset the set on the shear. And the way it gets checked is, as I take the shear apart, I'm going to put it against a flat plate, and I should see a little pitch on the blade. It should be, this is exaggerated again, but there should be a little daylight there. It shouldn't be flat.
Yeah.
There should be a little daylight on there. And what that achieves is it makes sure that the shear is set up properly, has the proper set, and it's going to perform. After I'm done sharpening, it's going to perform like it should.